Well, good morning, you all. Hello to all the doggies as well. So happy to have you all here. I just mentioned, if you hadn't quite logged on yet, that I do want us to have our yoga strap or something similar nearby today. So make sure we have that. I was saying dog leashes work really well because they're sometimes about the same length and the same material. And let's get started. Let's get our bodies moving, wake up a little bit this morning, set our intentions for our day. And hopefully Kathy will be able to log on here. So I am gonna invite us to start in our child's pose. However, I know child's pose doesn't work for everybody. So you're always welcome to start your practice lying on your back in Shavasana, even in a seated position. If that's better for your knees and your back, by all means, we can start our practice from whatever situation and pose works best for us this morning. Those of us that are going into child's pose, wide knee child's pose, bringing those knees wider than the hips is a nice option. Big toes touching. We can also place props behind the sit bones, pillows and blankets to support those hips, or behind the knees to give them some extra cushion. Now, this might be the first time we've given our body a bit of a stretch this morning. It is for me. So often when I take my child's pose first thing in the morning, it is a big stretch for that lower back. So I often start with my fist stacked underneath my forehead because my head is unable to touch the ground. But after I sit there for a few deep breaths and those muscles start to stretch, I can then gradually start to extend those fingertips to the front corners of the mat, and the head will eventually meet the mat. So kind of figure out where you are today. Add those props as needed. I do want our head supported. We will be here for a little bit of time, but if you happen to need to switch out of this pose, feel free to do so. So we're never stuck in concrete here. We want to be fluid with our body. We'll start to loosen things up, start to relax the muscles of the body. As we come down into the pose, feel that stretch around the hip creases, again through the low back. Close the eyes, take a nice deep breath. And on our exhale, let's let our body sink towards the ground. Let's allow our mind to come inward into the body. We'll begin as we normally do, taking a mental scan of our body, continuing to let go of any unnecessary tensions, tightness we might find. And we might all feel this pose a little differently. So we might feel it more through the shoulders, the chest, maybe down through those legs and low back. So as we take our inventory, we just start to recognize areas that maybe need a little extra TLC today. And remember, we want to honor those areas, honoring our body throughout our practice. Let's begin to feel the breath this morning. We can just watch our body breathe, trying our best to breathe evenly through the nose. The breath may move a little differently in child's pose. But every inhale is still an opportunity to lengthen and extend through the vertebra of the spine to fill ourselves up with fresh air, prana, and energy. And every exhale, an opportunity to clean everything out, exhaling away stress, tension, worries, cleaning our body, our minds out, preparing ourselves for our practice. Now let's continue to follow our breath, maybe allowing it to go a little bit more deeply into the body. And as we do so, I'm going to share another passage from the book Awakening the Spine by Vanda Scaravelli. She says, yoga has nothing to do with acrobatics or spectacular exhibitionism, even though some poses rather look like it. Students are sometimes inclined to force the flexibility of their bodies to the maximum, but this leads nowhere. Yoga goes much deeper. Sometimes unexpected things happen that cannot be easily explained, like healings, bursts of crying, and other similar discharges of pressure. When tensions leave, the body goes back to its original state and balance is re-established. So again, that's a nice gentle reminder to not force or push our bodies through our practice, but instead follow the guidance of our breath and the wisdom that we have of our bodies. So let's all cycle through one more complete breath here. Let's try to make this breath our biggest breath of our day yet. And then we'll start to slowly wake the body up. You can try to wiggle those toes back there, the fingertips, slide the hands a little closer in or bring them more towards the shoulders as we float our head up and bring the body up. So we're going to bring ourselves right into tabletop so that we can receive more benefit from child's pose, and that's on the release. Stack those joints, strong arms, low belly in, keep the low back and hips level, and give that right leg a nice big stretch behind us. We'll keep the ball of the foot to the floor. We'll really feel that opening behind the knee, pressing the heel towards the ground. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, knee comes down. Stabilize the hips, low back stays level. Left foot stretches back. Shifting our weight back to that heel, feel the eye of the knee opening. Equal weight in the hands. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, knee comes down. Keeping the tops of the feet to the mat or tucking the toes under to stretch out those feet. Let's go for some opening for the spine now. Cat-cows, following the breath. Inhale, we relax the belly. We lift that tailbone up and we stretch the spine as long as we can, all the way up to the crown of the head. And then on the exhale, we scoop that tailbone under, pull the belly in, rounding the back up to the ceiling. Draw the chin to the chest and try to look towards the belly button. Now continue to let this breath flow up and down the spine. Feel it moving like a wave through every vertebra. Good. We want to get some of that pelvic movement in there. Maybe a little bit more movement between those shoulder blades. And then let's eventually catch up back in a neutral position here. So our hands are still as wide as our shoulders. We're still drawing in slightly through that low belly to support that low back. Let's re-extend the right leg straight back behind us, but this time we're going to squeeze the back right side to hover the right leg parallel to the floor. So now we're activating that glute and hamstring a little bit more on the low back. Flex that right foot so it's nice and strong. From here, we'll add our balance. Left arm reaches forward, palm in, thumb up. And at first, we're just trying to find some stability and strength here. Next inhale, point the toes of the foot, flip the palm up. Let's see if we can lift the leg and the arm up a little higher. And then on the exhale, you're going to contract and draw that elbow and the knee under the body. The inhale re-extends and lifts, strengthening the back. The exhale pulls the body under. One more. Let's meet on that inhale, reaching out. Keep the leg up, but bring your left hand back down under the shoulder. Sweep the right leg over and down to the left. Top of the foot or toes tucked. Peek over that left shoulder and give our right side a nice big stretch. Inhaling, we'll bring the head and the leg back up. Exhale, let's bring that knee down. Fingertips into Hasta Bandha or fist for wrists at any time. Take up a couple of cat-cows. We want to make sure we get everything back where it needs to be. Give the back a little counter stretch. And then tabletop position. Nice strong arms, low belly pulls in. Left leg stretches back from the hip. Squeeze that left glute hamstring, hovering the left leg parallel to the floor. We want to maintain that nice level low back. Right arm stretches forward, palm in, thumb up. Finding our balance, spinal integration here. And then we'll follow the breath again for Surya Kagasana, Sunbird. Point the toes, palm up. Inhale, contract the muscles to lift up. Exhale, contract the abdominal muscles, pulling the elbow and the knee under. Inhale, lengthens, extends, and strengthens the back line. Exhale, we compress. One more. We'll meet on our next inhale, reaching out. The right hand comes back down to the ground. Left leg sweeps over to the right and down to the ground. Again, top of the foot or toes tucked. Peek over that right shoulder. Give your left side a nice big stretch. Inhale, let's bring that head and leg up. Exhale, knee comes down. Again, fingertips or fists for wrists if you want. Couple cat-cows. Let's come back to neutral. Walk our hands about 1 hand's distance forward. We'll all tuck our toes under at this point. Pull that low belly in, and let's float our hips up and back into our first downward facing dog, or maybe our first. Parallel those feet. Toes should be pointing forward. The knees should be pointing towards the toes. Let the head float between those upper arm bones, rolling those upper arm bones away from the ears. We can take our dog for that walk this morning by inhaling our heels up, getting into the crease of the toes. Exhaling, dropping one heel down, bending the opposite knee. Inhaling, heels up. Exhale to switch. Now you can continue to pedal those heels. Again, we're opening up the eyes of the knees, stretching all the way down to the calves and the Achilles. Simultaneously, equal weight in the hands, grounding through the mound of the index finger and thumb, but externally rotating those upper arm bones away from the ears. Let's pause for a moment in the pose, find that stillness. Take one more breath here. Now on the next inhale, let's walk those feet to our hands and find our first Uttanasan, forward fold. My modifiers, we bend our knees and place the weight of the elbows or hands on the thighs. You can always come up out of the inversion if you'd rather do that. Otherwise, we'll stay upside down for a little bit longer, continuing to stretch out the backs of the legs in the back itself. You may grab for opposite elbows and ragdoll the arms and the head loosely. But our feet and legs and our core should be nice and strong to support the upper body. Today we're going to round it up, so micro bend those knees, placing the hands on our thighs with the fingertips turned inward. Tuck the chin to the chest. Press those feet through the floor, and on our inhale, we're going to round it up, one vertebra at a time. Make sure we're inhaling to roll up through the spine. Head should be the last thing to come up on top of our shoulders. When it does, let's give our shoulders a purposeful little squeeze. Then exhale, shrug them away from the ears. Let the arms softly float beside the body. And let's feel our foundation here from the bottom up in Tadasana or mountain pose. So let's pick those toes up this morning, spread them nice and wide. Let's add the hands. So we'll turn our palms to face forward, maybe even slightly out to the sides of the room. And you'll feel that rotation all the way up in this upper arm bone. That just encourages a little bit more opening through the chest and the heart. Maybe a gentle contraction of the muscles between the shoulder blades to help with our posture. So fingers spread, toes are lifted and spread. Unlock those knees, draw those knees up the thighs, engaging the quads. Pull that front body in, anchor the upper buttock down to the ground, and let go of any tension in the face, the neck, or the shoulders. If your toes are still up, great. You can softly relax the toes back down to the ground. Let's come back to our breath. Focus the eyes on one spot. Inhale, reach out as wide as we can to the sides of the room, all the way up to the ceiling. We'll lift our heels up and go right into our palm tree pose. Now bring the palms to touch. And on our exhale, we try to slowly lower the heels and the hands to the heart. So you know we do this pose, I think, pretty much every single class. It's just a really nice way to work on that balance, but still stay connected to the breath. So if it's getting less challenging, one thing we can do is to change the drishti. So on the inhales, try to look upwards. And then on the exhale, bring the gaze back towards the horizon, or if you tend to look towards the ground, that's fine, but avoid dropping the head down. And if you wanted even more challenge today, you can try to close the eyes and continue this movement that may seem relatively easy at this point. That kind of changes everything. One more time, big stretch and reach on your next inhale. Good. And then exhale, heels down, hands to heart. If we're at the front of our mat, great, stay there. If we're not, let's walk our way up to the top of our mat. We'll keep our feet hips width apart in our Tadasana pose. We'll float our arms out back beside the body and feel our nice strong posture here. Remember, we want to feel that big base of a mountain around the lower half of the body, and the peak of the mountain is the top of the head. Turn those palms out. Inhale, reach out and up, big stretch. On the exhale, bring the hands all the way back down to the hips. So we're trying to keep our hips nice and square here as we take a big step back with our right foot. Straight back from the hip into a high lunge. So our left knee is bending, and it's bending over top of our left ankle. We do not need to be on a tight rope, so we can have that space between our feet. Shoulders and hips should be square to the front corners of our mat. Now, if we stay on the ball of our foot this morning, that's going to be a little bit more balance work. You are welcome to angle that back heel down and in slightly to more of a Virabhadrasana 1 stance. As you do that, you want to make sure that back foot is still equally weighted into the four corners and not collapsing inward. And we still want to encourage a squaring of the hips forward. But most importantly, we're going to be trying to open up the front of our right hip flexor. So in order to do that, we need to give ourselves a strong tuck under of the tailbone or a tuck under of the pelvis and really feel like we're pushing our right hip forward, and then we should start to feel it in the front of that right hip. Belly's in. Add the arms, inhaling them, reaching them up. They can be a little wider than the shoulders, a slight bend at the elbows if that helps keep tension out of the neck. The drishti may move upwards as well. Keep the back of the neck nice and long. So we're just going to hold this pose for a couple more breaths. Continue to push that right hip forward. Big stretch in the front of that hip. Good. One more big breath in when we get there. The exhale, let's sweep the hands back down to the hips. Pick that back heel up if it's grounded. Look forward and step forward and try to come right back into mountain pose. Float the arms out. And we just pause, observe, and breathe. Turn the palms out. Inhale, reach out and up. A lot of extension through the spine. Exhale, sweep the hands back to the hips. The hips stay square to the front of the mat. Big step back with that left foot. So we're in a nice long stance. We can widen our stance by opening the feet further out. Bending into that right knee. The right knee is over that right ankle. Heel may be up for more of that high lunge balance work, or you may try to angle that left heel down about 10 or 15 degrees. We're still working the hips and shoulders square to the front corners of the mat. Draw that front body in. Now we're going to try to open up the front of our left hip here, and a little tuck of that pelvis can intensify that stretch. So feel like you're pushing your tailbone under or trying to take that posterior tilt in the pelvis, and we should feel this through the front of the hip. Remember, if you're anchoring that back heel, four corners should stay grounded back there. Avoid collapsing the foot inward. Adding those arms, take a nice deep breath in, float them up. Keep them nice and wide or bend at the elbows to make sure we're not tensing the muscles around the neck. Couple more breaths, just you can move upwards. Feel that power and strength in the lower half of the body, anchored with gravity to the ground so that the upper half of the body can lengthen and extend towards the sky. Big breath in. Exhale, sweeps the hands all the way back down to the hips. Heel up, look forward, step forward. Try to go right back into mountain pose. Pause and take a breath. Turn those palms out. Inhale, reach up, big stretch. This time bring the palms to touch and exhale the hands to heart. So we're going to need to make a transition here because we're going to come into our nice wide open stance facing the long edge of our yoga mat. So if you have yoga blocks that you want to set up, a chair to give yourself a stepping stone, we're going to go for our Prasarita Pada Tadasanas again today. So that's our wide angle straddle. It's usually easier to go down and a little bit more challenging to come back up. So I use my props more for my stepping stones to get back up out of the pose so I don't overdo it with the low back. And even if we generally are able to easily fold at those hips and get fingertips to the ground, it's still nice to know that we have these items here waiting for us. They'll also help keep the length in the spine and the heart open. All right, so once we're in position, we got everything we need there. Come to the middle of the mat. Legs and feet touching, float the fingertips to the center of the heart, and take a nice deep breath in as we open it up. And once we start to open, you can wiggle those feet a little wider as is comfortable. Toes are pointing forward, knees to toes. Same thing, our four corners of our feet should be equally grounded so we're not collapsing to the inside of the feet or rolling to the outside. As our arms are held out here, use the triceps and the lats versus the upper shoulder and neck area. Take a big breath in. Exhale, hands back to those hips. This is where the movement happens. There's no flexion of the spine. It's all tilting of the pelvis. Stay connected to the core. Draw the elbows back. Inhale, open the heart. Exhale, you can turn your toes in slightly to get that inner rotation in the thigh bones and then start to tip from the hips. Strong feet, strong legs. Try to pick your toes up if you lose it. Pulling through that belly to protect the back. Pausing about halfway, inhale. The breath is our guide. Exhale. Maybe we go a little further. We have to give those muscles time and be patient with our body. Continue to follow your breath. You may start to bring fingertips down. And on those inhales, I would create even more length in the front of the spine. So you might even come up back out of the pose an inch or two. And then exhale, feel the hinge at the hips. So those of us going into more of an inversion again, maybe fingertips into the floor, or we've lowered our blocks down. You can try to walk those fingertips between the feet, aligning the fingertips with the toes. You may keep your drishti directly underneath the tip of the nose, and that has a little purposeful pooling of blood there at the base of the skull. Or at this point, you may release the weight of the head and look between the legs. I want us to stay engaged through the shoulder girdle. So instead of the weight of the shoulders falling down towards the ground, I want you to pull your shoulder blades slightly together and down the back towards the low back. So you're holding your shoulders in place, but we can release the root of the neck and the head towards the ground. Good. Everyone, one more breath. Next inhale, halfway lift, floats the head up. Lift the heart, walk your fingertips back up to those props. Strong feet, strong legs, strong core. Exhale, one hand at a time to those hips. And then inhale, use those strong legs and core to come up. Inhale, inhale, inhale. Inhale, even more air, reach out and up. We're gonna go for one more round. This next exhale, you may try to bring the arms back and around behind the body, interweaving all 10 fingers, adding a chest expansion. If that doesn't work today, you can take a hold of opposite elbows, or you can repeat by going into the pose like we just did, and you might try to do the yogi toe grip to the big toes, where you take your middle finger and index finger, wrapping them around the big toes, the palms face towards the center of the mat, the elbows flare out, and you continue to stretch the spine long. So your choice, whatever variation you'd like to take, follow the breath. The exhale tips the pelvis. Those of us that have chest expansion, you are going to continue to squeeze those shoulder blades together. And again, we want to avoid the shoulders collapsing towards the ears. You should be stretching your knuckles if they get there, either to the back of the room, up to the ceiling, or maybe they eventually start to come overhead. But you got to keep your shoulders engaged. Legs and core will be doing more work if you're in that position. If you were repeating the first variation, same thing. Just try not to put too much weight in the hands. If you're trying to work out to that yogi toe grip and you have a hold of those big toes, flare the elbows out to the edges of the mat. Draw the shoulders away from the ears. The head may release. Let's all try for one more breath. If you have your hands clasped behind your back, on the exhale, you'll want to bring them down to the low back so they're connected there. And then same thing on your inhale, you'll lead to the crown of the head. Others, halfway lift, exhale, hands to hips, and then inhale, slowly come up. Once we're upright, try to take in even more air, reach out to the sides, big breath in, stretch, palms touch, exhale, hands to heart, heel, toe, step, step, step those feet together. And then let it go. All right, so now we're gonna get into some of our balance work again. We can clear our space as needed. We did this one the other day. It'll involve some movement, and then we will hold the pose. And this is tightrope pose or tightrope walking. So either side of your mat will come to one short end and face in towards our mat. So we're going to be walking back and forth. So when we do our tightrope walking, the more challenging, at least I think it is is to keep the feet connected the whole time. So you actually touch heel toe, heel toe. If that's a little bit challenging today, you can leave space between your feet and walk forward like so. You can try to keep your hands at your heart, gazing forward, or the hands can try to come out here to aid in your balance. And you can start. The other day, we also pretended we were holding a ball overhead and we brought the hands up towards the ceiling. Once we get to the opposite end of our mat, we are going to try to go backwards, so just be safe. Same thing, you can try to go toe to heel, or have some space. And you also can be on more, I'm going to hold my tightrope, be more on a diving board than a tightrope. So if you don't want to walk on that straight line, that's a little challenging today, you can keep some space through your feet. So we'll all meet to our starting point whenever we get there. Now we're going to do it one more time and walk to the front of our mat. When you get to the top of the mat, it doesn't really matter, but we can all try to be on the same side. Finish with your right foot in front if you have space. Right foot in front. If that doesn't work for you, just remember which foot you have in front, because then we'll have to hold it on the other side. And then we're going to try to hold and squeeze. So now we're just holding the pose. One foot in front of the other. Compact the hips. Think about those lower locks or bandhas, so our pelvic floor muscles can be squeezing in and up. That's a healthy practice to do anyway to keep the health of our pelvic floor. Draw the low belly in. Again, hands can be at the heart center, floating out beside the body, or even upwards towards the ceiling. Notice the breath. Good. Let's take one more breath in the pose. So remember which foot you have in front. We're going to walk backwards one more time. And then when we get to the back of the mat, we'll pause and hold with the opposite foot in front. So if you had the right foot in front last time, left foot in front this time. Good, you guys are making this look easy. I'm all over the place. Squeeze those hips, draw into the midline. Equal weight through those feet and legs. Adjust the arm position or the drishti as you like. Let's take one more breath. And then we can release those arms down beside the body. Step the feet back into mountain pose, Tadasana, and pause for a moment here. And maybe we can sense or just kind of feel that notion when our feet are wider apart, how much more balance we do have, how much wider that foundation feels, even though it's only a few inches. Turn those palms out, big breath in, reach up. Big stretch here. Exhale, hands to heart. So we are going to make a transition back down towards the ground today. So we might have to turn ourselves around or again, readjust ourselves on our mat. So let's go ahead and meet back in mountain pose. Standing at the top of our mat, facing forward, arms sloped down beside the body. Four corners of our feet anchored, shin slightly forward, thighs slightly back, tailbone to heels. Pull that belly inward. Shoulders fall away from the ears and the head is floating lightly on top of the shoulders. Palms out, inhale, reach out and up. Drishti to thumbs for a gentle back bend. On the exhale, micro bend those knees. Swan dive those arms back and around as we hinge from the hips. And slowly move back into another forward fold. We'll pause here for a moment. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to shins, float the heart, pull the shoulders on the back. Exhale, we're finding our mat, so we're gonna bend our knees. Take a big step back, 1 foot at a time, and we're actually gonna end up in plank pose today. Full planks, shoulders over wrists, stiff as a board. You may drop to your knees, pull that low belly and scoop that tailbone. Keep breathing and holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. On the exhale, we're coming all the way down to our bellies. You may try to move through a Chaturanga Dandasana, drawing the elbows back, lowering the body as one unit, all the way down to the ground. Chin forward, slide the hands under those shoulders. Flatten out the tops of the feet. Keep them wider than your hips if you take care of your low back, or zip the legs and feet to touch. Bhujangasana, Cobra Pose. Inhale, squeeze the muscles of the upper back. Continue to engage into the mid and low back. Elbows pull in. The glutes are there to support us. Extend the crown of the head forward. Exhale, drop the head down. You can kiss your mat or drop the forehead to the ground. Inhale, we lift up, back bending, Bhujangasana. You may lift the hands up as well if you want more intensity. Exhale, lower down, kiss the mat or forehead to the floor. Again, inhale, back squeezes. You may also choose to put a little bit of pressure on the hands, but remember, we're not jamming into our low back. We're extending the crown of the head forward and up. Exhale, come down. And then one more time, inhale. Cobra Pose. This time, slide those elbows forward under the shoulders, Sphinx Pose. Knife the pinky edge of the hands into the ground. Elbows directly under the shoulders. The webbing of the index finger and thumb should be able to hold on to those creases. Drop the back of the body. So let it go. Relax the glutes. Your heels should flop open. Should be able to give your hips a little wiggle. Press the forearms into the ground. Pull your elbows in. Now stretch the spine as long as we can. Forward and up through the crown of that head. So our cobras and Sphinx Pose, really important. We should do these every single day. We got to continue to decompress and lengthen the spine. Little release for the neck. Exhale, look over our right shoulder. See what we can see. Inhale back. Exhale, look over that left shoulder. See what we can see. Inhale back. One more time to each side. Inhaling after you finish both sides, gaze forward. On the exhale, walk your hands back under the shoulders. Drop the head back down to the ground, kiss the mat. Tuck those toes under, scoop the tailbone under. Draw that low belly in. Strong arms, inhale, press back up. You can come to kneeling plank and then step your knees under the hips for some little baby cat cows to counter our back bending here. We can also, one more time, lift up and back into Adho Mukha Svanasana to stretch out the back. Down dog, people. Inhale, heels up as high as you can. Get that crease of the toes. Exhale, we drop the knees and point the toes. If it's available, sit back into Balasana one more time. This time the hands sweep back to the feet. You may also grab an opposite wrist across the low back as we drop the head to the ground, stretching out the back. And then hands under the shoulders, tuck the chin. Inhale, round it up. We'll sit back on those heels or transition whichever way works, shifting our weight over to either hip and bringing our feet forward. So it is time to come on down to the ground. You may come to one side and walk yourself down. Do you have your straps nearby? Any other props that you might need or want? If you want to do the slow roll down, have space behind the body. Soles of the feet touch, knees open wide, fingertips reach forward, drawing that belly inward, and then slowly coming down, one vertebra at a time. Once we're on the ground, we'll want to loosen things up, adjust the clothing, move the ponytails. Long body stretch, we'll reach our arms overhead. Bring the legs together down the middle of the mat, point and flex the feet. Stretch it out a little bit, side to side. And then exhale, let's float our arms down, shrug the shoulders under, step the feet in. Draw belly in to hug our knees in. Little rock here to help release the back. So next we're going to go for our Supta Padangusthasana with our strap. We'll do the right side first and then the left. Bring the feet back down to the floor. Taking a hold of that strap. Bend the right knee in. We want to hook that strap towards the lower arch of the foot, a little closer to the front of the heel. And then we'll extend our right leg and get it as straight as possible. Hand grip. I don't really care how you hold it, but I do want you to have it in both hands so the heart stays open. I personally like to reach my hands up and let my shoulders kind of float from the floor, and I'll wrap my hands in my strap so they're not doing as much work. Some people like to pull their hands down and elbows tight to beside the torso. I want us to concentrate more on just opening up the back of that leg, getting a nice big hamstring stretch. Keep the low back flat to the floor, slide the left heel forward. That left foot is actively flexed, almost like we were standing on the ground. From here, continue to push the right thigh bone forward. You may be able, if the leg is straight, to encourage it to come towards the upper body a little bit more, flaring the elbows out to create some space. Now we'll take the strap in just the right hand. Place the left hand on top of the left hip. The left side must stay grounded. Do not let the left side lift up away from the floor. So we actually have to work those muscles along the left side to hold it there. Some of us may need to bend our right knee first. We want the right thigh bone to moving closer to the body at an angle. So bend the right knee if you can't do that with a straight leg. Inhale, open the right leg to the right. You can drop the elbow to the ground, keep tension on the belt, and then you can try to re-extend the leg from there. Think about external rotation in the thigh bone, so like you're trying to Charlie Chaplin both feet, turning the toes out, heels in, to intensify that stretch across the front of the pelvis, the groin and inner thigh. Right hand's doing the work. Left arm may reach out. You can keep your left side down. Head may counter twist to the left. Take a couple breaths. On the inhale, we'll bring the head and help the leg back up. Left hand holds on. So the first stretch we're going to try to get into is for our IT band. So we actually just keep the leg straight and try to angle it over to the left just a few degrees, 10 or 15 degrees. You can move that foot around in space a little bit. You will feel that through that outer right thigh. You try to keep the back flat at first. And then moving into the spinal twist, the leg won't touch down, but the left elbow can. Keep tension on that belt. The right hip will peel away from the floor, but keep the right shoulder anchored down. Right arm extends out. Counter twist the head, look to the right, and take a couple deep breaths. On our next inhale, head and leg come up, help it up with the strap. Open the strap up, slide the left foot in and up. We'll pause in a neutral position, waterfall pose, both legs up to the air. Other side, bring the right foot to the floor. Try to get that strap right on that lower arch closer to the heel. Choose a hand grip that works for you, but keep the heart open, shoulders falling away from the ears. Open up the whole back of the left leg, eye of the knee. Sliding the right heel forward, right foot actively flexed as if it were standing on the ground. Right leg is anchored to the ground. Concentrating on stretching out that left hamstring. If the leg is straight, you may encourage it towards the torso a little bit more. Now we hold on with the left hand. Right hand on top of the right hip. Right side must stay grounded. Use the muscles along the right hand side of the body to stay anchored. If our thigh bone is not moving towards us at an angle, bend the left knee first. That's okay, you'll get more into the hip. Inhale, open the leg up to the left. Drop the elbow to the ground, keep tension on the strap. You can try to straighten the leg back out again once you're there. External rotation in those thigh bones. It's as if you're trying to turn your toes out, heels in. Right side down, low back is flat to the floor. Big stretch for the growing inner thigh across the front of the pelvis. Right arm can extend out, head can turn to the right. Breathe deeply. Relax the face, the mouth, tongue, and jaw. Don't let them do the work. Our next inhale will bring the head and the leg up. Right hand holds on. Keep that left hip down. Crossing that left leg just slightly over the midline, 10-15 degrees at an angle. We should start to feel this in that outer thigh and hip area. Moving into the twist. Drop that right elbow out. Keep tension on the strap. Allow the left hip to float up. But keep your left shoulder grounded. Left arm can reach out. Head turns to the left. Use that exhale to bring out any lingering tension or stress. One more breath. Inhale, we'll bring the head and the leg up. Open that strap up. Slide the right foot in and up. Waterfall pose. Pausing here. And then let's bend the knees. Release the strap off to the side. Dead bug pose. Cross one ankle over top of the other. Just let the knees fall towards the body. Reach those arms up to the ceiling, but flop the hands and the fingertips forward. You can give them a quick little wiggle to undo the strength of holding onto our strap. Switch the cross at the ankle. Another breath here. Then we can uncross those ankles, hug the knees in, float nose to knees for a bigger stretch for the back. If we feel like we need a happy baby or any other movement before final relaxation, give yourself a minute here to do those things. So this morning we'll move into final relaxation for several moments, absorbing our practice. We always have permission to stay there, or I'll use the singing bowl to bring us up for those of us that would like to practice our pranayama, mantra, and a little seated concentration meditation this morning. So those of us getting ready to move into final relaxation, you may simply stretch the leg out in Shavasana, allowing the feet to flop open, the arm bones to roll open, palms up. We may take additional support under the body, supporting the feet, the knees, the legs, even the back or the head. Feel free to add props on top of the body. That additional weight can help the body relax a little bit more quickly. Eye coverings, whatever you want. Once we get into that position, make sure clothing is nice and loose, that we place the body in as much symmetry as we can from side to side, front to back. Poof the cheeks up with air, stick out the tongue, whatever is needed to relax the mouth, tongue, and jaw. Let go of any expression across the face. Smooth the forehead, the brow. Relax the eyebrow center. Relax the throat. Soften the heart and the chest. Feel the weight of the limbs from the shoulders to the elbows, to the hands and the fingertips. Feel the weight of the lower limbs from the hips to the knees, to the ankles, the feet and toes. Relax down the back of the body, vertebra by vertebra, allowing that low back to sink into the ground. Relax the larger muscles, the hips, hip sockets, the buttocks, the abdominal muscles, all of the internal organs. Notice a subtle rise and fall of the belly with the breath. Allow the breath to become quiet, easy, and calm. If the mind wanders, gently bring it back to this peaceful breath, giving ourselves permission to take one more moment of this morning to let go, to relax, and to simply be and breathe. So again, choosing to stay where we are, or we'll come back to the breath and start to breathe some life back into the body, waking up the toes, the fingertips, a rock of the head side to side. Roll out the ankles and wrists. We can stretch out long and tall on our mat one more time. Hug the knees to the chest one more time. If we're coming up to a seated position, remember to bring one arm beside the head. Roll onto one side and pause on that side and sleeping baby pose for a moment. And then trying to keep those eyes soft or closed to press into the ground and to bring the body up. So this is the first time we've been in a seated position for this class, and want to take any comfortable seat. If you want to take a moment to reorganize and place a prop underneath the sit bones, that would be totally appropriate so that we can maintain our nice neutral spine and as much length up through the spine as possible. So we'll go for our Nadi Shodhanam, our Nadi cleansing breath, or Anuloma Viloma, alternate nostril breathing again. To begin, we bring the hands in Chin Mudra, index finger to thumb with the other three fingers extended, resting those hands on the knees, palms up. We should be sitting up nice and tall on those sit bones, all the way up through the crown of the head. And then in our right hand, we take Nasagra Mudra. We start with the peace symbol, gluing the index finger to middle finger. The thumb, ring, and pinky fingers are our pinchers. Turn your right hand towards the face, pressing the middle and index finger into that third eye center. Rest the thumb on the outside of the right nostril and the ring and pinky on the outside of the left nostril. To begin, we inhale through both nostrils. Exhale back out through both nostrils. Then close the right nostril with the thumb and inhale just through the left. Close the left, open the right, and exhale. Inhale back through the right side. Close the right, open the left, and exhale. That's one round. Inhale left. Close left, open right, exhale. Inhale back through the right. Close right, open left, exhale. That's 2 rounds. Continue on your own, following your breath. If one side is a little bit more clogged than the other, that's normal. Just do the best to breathe through it. If the right arm or head become heavy, place the left hand under the right elbow to hold it up. And one additional element we added the other day was counting the breath. So our intention is to take a count of 5 on the inhale and the exhale from side to side. To mentally count the breath, we can also add Om. For example, counting each breath, 1 ohm, 2 ohm, 3 ohm, 4 ohm, 5 ohm, and continue that over and over again. Take the time to finish whatever round you are currently on. That round finishes when we get to the exhale out the left nostril. When you get to that point, exhale completely out the left nostril. Then release the hands back to Chin Mudra on top of the knees. Sit up a little bit taller if we've begun to slouch. Let go of controlling the breath. Let it wander away to wherever it wants to go. Focus the mind's eye, the third eye center, the acupressure we just created at Agnya Chakra, our place of intuition and wisdom. Relax the face completely. Feel the weight of the shoulders and elbows falling away from the ears. The gentle weight of the hands on the knees. Notice the contact points with the legs and each other, and the lower half of the body to props and the ground below. Let the lower half of the body connect and sink towards the ground as we extend, lengthen, and let the upper half of the body through the spine, all the way up to the top of the head, reach up towards the sky. If the mind wanders, bring it back to that third eye center, or concentrate the mind at the tip of the nose and the gentle breath around the nostrils. Or we may mentally repeat any mantra, affirmation, or intention over and over again. And now we'll go for our mantra, doing our finishing series of mantras this morning. If you'd like to follow along, please do so. The Om Pranav mantra means that is fullness, This is fullness. From that fullness, this fullness came. From that fullness, this fullness removed. What remains is fullness. Sitting up nice and tall, taking a deep breath in to begin. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat. And then being mindful of our surroundings, let's reach our arms back out beside the body, palms up. Taking another nice big breath into our body, let's reach those arms all the way up towards the ceiling, gathering up everything we need for the rest of our day. Turning the palms back out, exhale, float the arms all the way back down to the ground, and let go of all that other junk we don't need today. One more time, inhale, arms up. Bring the palms to touch, exhaling, hands to heart. Humbly bowing our head to our heart to honor and thank ourselves, our bodies, each other, and remembering to be grateful to anyone else that made it possible for us to practice our yoga together today. And I thank all of you always for your support and your patience. Thanks to Austin Yoga Tree for keeping us connected and allowing this to happen. And anyone else who offers support to ourselves. Seated position, make sure you take a moment here, give those legs a stretch and a wiggle, get some blood flow back into them. If you have questions or comments for me, feel free to share. We got beginning yoga here in a couple minutes. We have a gentle yoga this evening, 5:30 to 6:30 with Muslim space, specifically designed for people that may be fasting and rejuvenating. And that way you're welcome to join us. There is a registration, but it's free. I'll be back Wednesday evening. We're moving into our last week of April, so I got some stuff planned starting in May, which is just around the corner. So we'll be doing some more connecting, I think, to our core in May. Manipura chakra, May. We all need it.
Oh, yeah, you need it.
It just goes for everybody.
Yeah, yeah.